Two bans hitting the support so early on definitely doesn't sit quite right with me, especially if you think they're that OP and you've got first pick. Just take them. The Ori, though, taken off the board, so we'll see what it is that ends up being elected to take. I think Varus as well, still a pick that sits pretty in the LPL. We'll see whether or not any of these sides elect to take it. With first pick on JDG's side, that's what they go for.
Gala's Varus, listen, it's a very fine pick to have. You know, Varus, one of his best champions of all time, a champion that has, you know, certainly been around, and I would really like this answer. We've seen a lot of games where it's Yunara into Varus, and I think the Chains of Corruption can become a problem. It kind of keeps Yunara from shoving forward in fights, but I think the Sivir doesn't have that sort of issue and is able to enable whatever picks that Weibo want to have next.
And it looks like, you know, it's a great setup for a dive, right? With the Alistair on the back, you're going to have something that can go forward with a Sivir that can enable that as well. It's a very solid base that Weibo do have here if they look to try and be a little bit more aggressive with their composition. We'll see what it is that JDG look to answer with. The Rakan picked up for Vampire, so another playmaker going into that support role for him. Another opportunity for him to show himself off, show some of those developments that he has made. And what are they going to look for JDG? Any particularly highly prized mid laners potentially? Some top laners could still go their way, and I think that for Xiaoxu as well, a player who we last year this time were saying, Renekton one trick. Now has started to prove himself on a few more picks. We'll see whether or not he can try and find one of those in the second round.
Wukong going to be the lock-in for JunJia, so we're getting a lot of early team fighting prowess coming through. Looking at these objectives, I think Weibo Gaming is going to want to stay away. We see this Poppy hover. Roodood, I think it would be pretty excellent. It's going to be good at shutting down this Wukong and this Rakan, and it will be locked in.
Very poignant pick here for Weibo Gaming. Really like to see this one taken. Could go to Zika if we wanted to be really flexy with it, but most likely going to be Jiejie's hands for it. And I love this into Rakan, into the Wukongs. We've already highlighted going to be a very good answer, but for JDG now, what do? Do they say, okay, well, we can still kind of play this like a front-to-back composition. We can start to set this up as a poke comp if they want to. Or are they going to double down? That's typically what we see in these situations is, well, we've already committed to being a dive comp with a little bit of poke supporting us, so let's just continue to do that. And I would expect JDG to sort of hammer home on that. Missing a little bit of AP for the time being. We've seen Xiaoxu have a very good Gwen performance so far, but he's most likely going to have to take one of his picks blind here. And we'll see whether or not some AP can come from both of those solo lanes, or if they're just going to look to one side and maybe an AD diver comes through in the mid lane, like Yone potentially.
I'm curious to see what we're going to get out of the JDG mid lane, because they're the ones to ban this injury here. You know, they have to be, considering JDG had the first pick. I think it would have been good for them, but even better for Weibo Gaming. So just trying to attack the pool of Xiaohu and try to make him as uncomfortable as possible. Again, they are going after what we determined is the weak link of Weibo Gaming to this point. Not overly surprised by that. Still waiting on another ban. I'm wondering if maybe they'll go after like a Scion or something like that. Yep, that's going to be taken away. Thought that would have been a good pick for JDG.
Could be a Cassio here for Xiaohu or for HongQ. I think that Syndra in particular, you know, typically a very good matchup for the Syndra into the Cassio. You can keep her at range, but an opportunity for the Snake Lady to come through if they're looking for a little bit more consistent DPS. And I do love that when you've got a Varus on your side, you know, you're going to be playing poke. You're not going to be playing with that large amount of DPS. Opportunity though here for Xiaohu to try and take it away though, right? The counter is banned. We'll see whether or not they look for it themselves. Does say that they're going to be pivoting away from that dive style, more so looking for a bit of an absorbing composition with this Poppy. Does do very well at just sort of punting people back and having a good time with things like that, but we hope that with this lock-in still pending for Weibo Gaming, they're going to have a little bit of identity forming.
This is going to be a really good pickup if they want it, and they will get it. Zika, one of his best games all the way back against IG, where he had a really good performance on that Jax. Going to be really good into this Rakan, into this Wukong. And his flanks, if he's able to get onto that Varus, are going to be big. You did see that Zahan hover. If Xiaoxu wants it, I think it's going to be a very difficult team fight for Weibo to stop.
Okay, so a little bit of a self-counter pick. Obviously, the way that this composition is going to play out is going to be largely focused on diving forward and looking for team fights, not necessarily looking at that 1 versus 1. But I'm very, very curious to know the logic of to how Xiaoxu thinks he's going to be able to take this lane. The reason I say this is you look at the individual 1 versus 1. Zehen has an ability that resets and does a lot of damage on his autos. Jax blocks autos, so we'll see if that can really benefit one another, or if it's actually just going to be a bit of a rush for Xiaoxu on that top side. Obviously, in a previous series, had a mammoth performance up against anyone's legend, almost single-handedly turning that game back in their favor in this same matchup. So there's definitely an opportunity there for Xiaoxu to have a good showing of things, but definitely going to be tricky for him, I'll say.
Final lock-in for Weibo is that Ahri that we were talking about. So step
Ignite,
1
please.
is complete. Step 2, let's go and take Ignite. Let's try and take out HongQ. Let's talk about mid-jungle duos here, because you do have a lot of power at a JDG, but the one thing you don't have is guaranteed lockdown. It's really only the seismic shove. Meanwhile, on the other side, you have Poppy's charge into the wall. You have the charm coming out from Ahri as well. If you're able to get one of these JDG members and pin them up against the wall, there is going to be a lot of damage coming through and a lot of opportunity for Weibo Gaming to take the game from there.
Yeah, small synergy between Alistair and Poppy as well. Obviously, if either one of them finds a target near a wall, they don't then have to use their secondary CC, and in particular, Alistair as well can just punt somebody into the wall, use that little bit of a window, then throw the Q instead. So really good to see those two being able to pair up with one another. And we'll keep our eyes out for how well that continues into this game. Definitely a point of contention, I would say, for both of these sides.
All right, Roodood. Let's see what both of these teams have here. That self-counter pick out of Xiaoxu, as you mentioned earlier, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. That is what really differentiates solid top laners from great top laners, and we'll see if he's able to be the great top laner that JDG thinks he could be. Game 2 on Summoner's Rift, Weibo JDG. I'm fairly certain that that guy is at every single JDG game, because every time they play, I hear him. He is so iconic in the crowd, and you just know it's him. Nobody else has that lower register, that gritty feel to it. That guy could have been a caster.
He could have been. Maybe he was in a past life.
Who knows? Maybe he still is.
Maybe he still is, yeah. Just no JDG games. No Weibo games.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah, he's not allowed. Too biased.
All right. We've got this headbutt. I know that Hulk Battery is a proponent of being very aggressive on Sivir. Sivir's level 1, quite powerful. Get the movement speed whenever you auto attack. You know, if you throw out a Q, it does good damage. Tough to deal with.
And you know, when you get that opportunity, I think that the Sivir obviously able to control that wave nice and early. We'll see if they can continue to push that small advantage that you have as the Sivir through the early stages of this game into the late. Quick pit stop at our 2-mark check-in for Xiaohu. He did fail on the second counter. Unfortunately, selected to go for the TP. So no Ignite on to this Ahri. Means that our kill threat in the mid lane definitely a little bit lower than we might have anticipated. But Jiejie here, is he going to be spotted on this ward? He is. It dies just a second too late. And that actually gives HongQ the knowledge that he needs to back away. If that ward had have died just a second later, if he'd have been in a slightly slower clear here, Jiejie would have been able to find a window into that mid lane. But he's going to start up this blue buff here. He knows that he's got push from Xiaohu. Bot lane as well also pushing, so could very well come down to a smite fight. Let's see if either of our laners get an opportunity to make their way across.
Looks like Weibo's bottom lane is headed over here. Smites traded, as JJ will be able to pick up that Gromp. JunJia gets that blue buff, and the junglers will go in part ways. Now, you had mentioned the teleport check just a moment ago. I think in this game it's going to be far more relevant than it was in the last one. I think as Azir, sometimes you are going to teleport in safer spots. You have a tendency to do so, but as an Ahri, you might have more of a tendency to go in more aggressive spots We're looking to make some aggressive plays here. Charm's going to go down. Nice sidestep on the seismic shove as well. Gets the flash out of HongQ.
Yeah, JDG's playing incredibly well so far this series, and again looking to be active on the map. Good steal away from Jiejie means that he was able to take away one of the camps from this Wukong. And he's actually got his entire top side to go back to, so he's going to be a little bit ahead in experience, even if a little bit behind on time, given that he spent a little bit of time making that gank work and having to get his way through his clear. Where JunJia now actually able to go back to base, get a double longsword, and going to be back out on the map in time to take any fights a little bit later on. We'll see if that ends up being important, or if, much like most cases with jungle clearings, we get really bogged down in the weeds of it and then nothing actually matters.
Well, let's see if we're going to cut any camp timers to try and revisit this mid lane at any point. Now, the bad news is it is quite difficult to actually get to HongQ at times unless he steps up a little too far forward. You're really going to be waiting for Xiaohu to hit level 6. Otherwise, we're going to need to be burning some flashes on your side and pinning him up against a wall, and that's where you're going to see a lot of problems caused. Elk was able to get his recall off Erha, unable to do so, but manages to protect his AD carry.
Yeah, and I mean, especially in the new season as well, the ability to go back to base and trying to punish the enemy AD for trying to take a recall doesn't particularly exist, I'm going to be honest.
Oh my goodness.
Are we okay? What did I miss?
Oh, well.
This is the super play from Erha. He just hiding in the try.
Gala's got no idea.
Yeah, this is not a red side, Alistair.
Yeah, Gala's going to find out real quick. Knocked up and punted back into the rest of the squad.
Oh, no!
Oh, he fails the flash, too, and it's first blood to Jiejie.
Oh, that's two really bad flashes from Gala in 2 consecutive games. I don't know which one's worse, but because you can never flash that wall there, that is either such a difficult flash or just not a possible one. Failing it, though, definitely not what you wanted to see as a JDG fan, as a Gala fan just in general. A really well played setup, though, by Erha. He just lurks in the wings, stays there forever. Almost anticipating this teleport coming through from Gala as he TPs quite brazenly onto the wave. And then just walks around. A really good little setup. Doesn't ever give an opportunity for the headbutt to be flashed, so just knocks him up, headbutts him immediately. So often you'll see Alistair try and combo an auto attack in there or something of that nature, but no, did it perfectly. And now around this bot side, a small advantage with the lack of summoner spells up for Gala.
All business there from Erha. Has read him like a book. He's got summoner spell book, so a well-read Alistar is a strong Alistar. Just a little over 1,000 gold lead. We have this dragon up. It's Cloud Dragon. Obviously, we're going to have grubs in about 2 minutes. And, you know, if you're Weibo Gaming, you're really going to want to get your hands on them. Zika, the split push threat out of Jax, now more than ever, is so worrisome.
Yeah, none of the gold spent just yet. It is obviously just those summoner spells being burned that currently is the problem, and the wave of experience lost. Looks like this wave also slightly pushing away from the JDG bot side as Gala has to queue just to get the cannon and finds it that he's going to push it even further, but it's really tricky for them to even step up. Erha should just be able to walk up, try and take any of these fights, and you can see Elk as well. Knows that he's got the opportunity, even in the face of this cannon, in the face of 2 minions, to try to take these trades. Do you think that Vampire, though, with this Gleaming Quill, has an opportunity to make a little bit of headway through this lane? A little bit of healing down and help out his AD?
It's going to be up to Erha to ensure that he's not giving away free health. Gala, no worse for wear for the moment. Just getting a little bit extra shielding from that battle dance. We're seeing HongQ's flash come up soon. Gala's flash is going to be up in about half its time, so we're looking for Jiejie or Xiaohu to be the ones to make these moves and punish these summonerless champions. You can already see JunJia lying in wait, anticipating that Jiejie may be here soon. He's going to even head back to his own jungle.
Alrighty. Again, lots of posturing down on this bot side. I'm glad to see that JDG are at least trying to look a little bit more towards the bot lane and recognizing that was a little bit of a pinch point in game number 1. We haven't really talked about these teams as they move later, though, Yanni, and I do once again want to think that as far as the scaling goes, I'm always going to give it over to the side with a Sivir win-con position. And the fact that Weibo have once again found themselves at the Ascendancy, they'll be fine.
Yeah, we're going right after Gala. He's got the auto attacks. And he's going to be able to take him out. But no, there's a heal from Vampire. Elk does the spell shield. He's got the barrier out too. Great save there from Vampire.
Yeah, Gala dead to rights, but supported there by Vampire means he is able to get out to safety. Greedy recall here from Elk. He's able to get away with it though, as he's going to lose out on that wave down on the bot side. Flash burn for nothing there for Elk. He did burn both summon the spells also. Not the outcome that he would look for, and this gives an opportunity now for JDG. Try to look to punish this Sivir with no flash, no ulti. Definitely an area of the map that you could look to exploit. Certainly something that I would like to see them do. We recognise that it was a pinch point in Game 1. Let's try and utilise it in Game 2 to get some advantage back.
We're already seeing the Weibo Gaming squad wasn't able to take advantage of the flashless Varus. If JDG are able to do so onto Elk, it'll be a big feather in their cap to try and find their way back into a game where it feels like they haven't been largely relevant yet, as Jiejie has been pretty much everywhere at every turn, stopping JunJia from potentially starting anything up. Speaking of starting things up, it's going to be their grub started up here by Jiejie.
Just going to find all three of them, I would imagine, without any contest, it looks like, as he's not really having too much problems, not having any contest. And for Weibo Gaming, again, this Jax is a champion that we've seen already so far this split. Be able to take these structures incredibly quickly. So getting grubs in the back pocket of that Jax champion, definitely a benefit to Weibo. Again, talking about their scaling, happy with Weibo as the game gets later. They've got Elk with this slight advantage early on. He'll be able to put out the damage later on, no doubt. And I do think that Weibo here could be smooth sailing their way to that 2-0, provided JDG don't get anything too strong too early. Not a necessarily fledged poke composition, not necessarily the greatest team fight. They've got good setup from Zhen, Wukong and Talia, but again, in terms of that consistent DPS, you are relying very heavily on HongQ. Whereas if you look over at Weibo's side, they've got Sivir to kind of do all of that work and carry them over the line quite easily.
Dragon attempt from JDG foiled by Weibo Gaming, and I think that's hugely important here, Roodood. I mean, we're almost 11 minutes into this game. The first dragon is still standing. For all of the scaling that we speak of Weibo Gaming, I mean, JDG is not going to have many opportunities here to go and snap these dragons up for free, and if they get a soul, it'll be late enough that Weibo will largely be in a good spot scaling-wise. Now, we're going to see Jiejie up a little aggressively here. Should be thick enough to weather the storm of JunJia and Weibo.
Sundered Sky means he gets a little bit of HP back and is able to just walk it out. JunJia notably didn't expend, didn't commit to utilizing the Cyclone, so both of these junglers just accepting, maybe, you know, we'll let it go. Like that Sundered Sky being picked up for Jiejie does give him a good little dueling power in that 1 versus 1. Notably as well, Trinity Force not yet finished for the Wukong, so definitely something that he needs to have accomplished before we look to see him try to take those big plays and maybe try and make this game all about him, because when we look across the rest of the map at who is actually going to be able to get access to Elk, yes, maybe Xiaoxu, who needs to have a bit of a step-up performance, but HongQ getting in there, Gala getting in there, not particularly likely, so gold on the Wukong this game, actually not for nothing.
12 minutes into this game, Roodood, and I have to say I'm very disappointed in our mid laners right now. I know that the scaling is good for Weibo, but you don't pick Ahri, Poppy as your mid-jungle duo to be passengers. You don't pick Talia on the other side to hold your Weaver's Wall forever. Somebody is going to need to make a move out of these mid laners right now because they're hurting their compositions a bit.
This is giving the vibes of we're going to have 10 kills in this entire game. It's going to be decided at 25-30 minutes where we're just going to play this game of chess almost, where we give one objective for another, where we give a different objective for a different one, and we just continuously dance around the fighting and never actually do any of it. Then we find the fact that we've given up 3 dragons, we're now at soul and have to try and take a fight. You lose that fight and you lose the game.
Maybe it is a game of chess, but also maybe they're just consuming all of their chess clocks, dude.
Could be.
We a bit of a issue here with the feed, everybody. Sorry about that. As we'll look to work through that in just a moment, and eventually we'll be able to get back to this game. It looks like we finally have been. See a charm go down on a vampire. I think that is a smart move by Xiaohu to not go in there. The dragon has been started up for JDG.
Yeah, the Drake is a form of interruption as well. Definitely not something that we would look to see. But a nice little pickup overall. And now that dragon being started, JDG need this.
Erha is not close yet. There's that keeper's verdict with the dragon secured. And now we're going to be able to blow up vampire. So they're going to trade out a kill for the support of JDG.
They got the dragon, and honestly, I think for JDG, that's the big win here. Obviously, losing members is never a good takeaway, but I think the fact that they get the Drake puts them on the right foot. I think if they lose that Drake, they're probably, without overboiling the kettle at this point, saying goodbye to the game. The fact that they take that keeps them in. Again, their composition doesn't necessarily thrive as they move later on. I think that there's enough support between Erha and the Poppy. Excuse me, and the Poppy to keep Xiaoxu and JunJia away. There's not particularly a lot of threat onto this Sivir with that support and with that peel that we expect to see come through. So for JDG getting that dragon, it keeps them level in this game. It keeps them within touching distance.
They are going to be they're going to have to be snappy on these next dragons, though, Roodood, because if you wait as long as you did to get that first one, for the second and the third, you're not going to be in a good spot at all. 20 seconds until this Rift Herald is up. It looks like Weibo Gaming are well positioned for this for the moment. We've sent Xiaohu down to the bottom lane. His ult's going to be coming up as well, so watch out for his teleport.
Yeah, quests completed pretty much across the board. It's important that Xiaohu doesn't actually have his completed yet on the Ari. So not being able to get those boots upgraded is maybe a big deal as we move a little bit further on, but Zika gets a couple of plates up on this top side, and the gold lead for Weibo Gaming continues to expand. JDG just seeming a little bit lost. We haven't really seen anything, period, from them so far this game, and honestly so far this series. They ended last game with 3 kills, and it just feels like they're completely out of their depth.
Well, now they're going to look for a play onto HongQ here instead of going for that Herald. Flash from HongQ, JunJia here to try to save the day. HongQ will be able to escape.
Yeah, good charm dodged there, importantly. If that connects, pretty sure HongQ's just dead to rights, but the Merc Tread's giving him a little bit of safety as well, a little bit of tenacity versus this.
They're walking up. Vampire, though, not able to land the charm on the multiple members here. Jiejie punts a man out, but here comes HongQ. Good sidestep, but I don't think it's going to matter. Pelted with rocks. And it's going to be a kill going over to HongQ. First of the game for JDG, 16 minutes in.
Yeah, and HongQ getting the pickup is pretty decent as well. Nice to see that he's able to get a little bit of gold in his back pocket. But again, you have to remember that this is the first thing really that we've seen from them all game, and it's off the back of Weibo initiating something that didn't particularly work out all that well. Hopefully that changes, and for JDG they can maybe look for something a little bit better off as we move a little bit further on into this matchup. And I mean, we can take a quick pit stop in top lane if we like. Trinity Force is picked up for both of our top laners. As soon as they go back to recall, they take 2 plates because they've both got Sheen items now and can just do it. So we'll see. TP early in from Xiaoxu here saves his turret, but I mean, if one more wave gets up to that structure, pretty sure that Zika's just going to be able to take it in a very quick combo. He now has to hold every single wave out of the turret so that can't happen.
So far, everything on schedule for those top laners. You know, Xiaoxu no worse for wear in this self-pick counter. We'll see what kind of impact these top laners have. It does feel like the first one to make their impact in one of these fights is going to be able to turn the game for their team. We've talked about the scaling of Weibo Gaming, so it looks like the ball's going to have to be in Xiaoxu's court. Remember, this Rift Herald is still up. Weibo Gaming elected not to go for it. They elected to try to make a bottom lane play. That did not quite work out. Now with a minute left on this dragon, perhaps they are just leaving it up to see what JDG will do and which objective they want to attack.
And again, I think that this feels as though Weibo are almost coloured by their lack of confidence from the rest of the round robin. This is our final series of the first round robin for these two teams. And neither one of them particularly performing how we'd have expected. In JDG sense, we're expecting a lot more so far, and for Weibo, they've honestly feeling very slow, very methodical, but not necessarily in a good way, I want to say. This game, maybe they're okay because they know that they've got this massive scaling advantage with the Sivir, but would like to see them try and take a little bit more, almost, right? We talked about the lack of proactivity with this Poppy Ahri duo. I don't think that HongQ has particularly ever been threatened outside of that one fight down in the bot lane, but we know that we should be looking to try and take this Taliyah down post level 6. Let's make that play happen much earlier on into the game, as now Erha spots out JunJia. Thwarts a play attempt on that bot side, but hey man, this game relatively slow, not particularly seeing too much from either of these sides, but for Weibo, they're quite happy with that.
You mentioned doing things earlier, Roodood. Chop, chop, JDG. Time to get to this dragon. It's been up for, what, 30 seconds at this point? You guys need to be on top of these, and they haven't been. We're going to see On the Hunt getting used flash away from Gala. Critical summoner down.
But now moving into a potential fight around this neutral objective as the Chain of Corruption goes wide. Would have probably been hit up by the spell shield anyway. But as we move to this fight, I do think that not having On the Hunt is a pretty big deal for Weibo. Obviously, Chain of Corruption going back and being traded now sort of neutralizes that. Makes that problem a little bit less so, but you can see Zika here. If he's able to stack up this wave and Xiaoxu's not able to really get anything down on this, I expect, yeah, this turret is just going to fall. And Zika's already level 15. It's 20 minutes into the game, not even. And he's almost level 15, which is wild.
Yeah, there's just been no disruption for these top laners in this game. So Zika, again, he did big things on the Jax in the first series of the year. Here's this Weaver's Wall coming through. It does not block Shelly. Another miscue from JDG. And they are not able to pick up this dragon either. It's taking them time.
I mean, I don't think they're going to get it at all. I'm looking at Gala recalling. I'm looking at HongQ walking out of base. The dragon's already been started. Zika's just taken this turret, and now the pieces, the dominoes are starting to fall for JDG, and they don't really look like they've got any stopping power in this. Their engaged threats are neutralized by Jiejie and Erha here on this Alistar. Their ability to disengage is too great, and now Elk, happy to sort of walk up in the face of HongQ, take this structure, take these plates, find that advantage, and Weibo Gaming kind of having their cake, eating it too, putting sprinkles on it, dipping it in sauce, like it's all going well.
Dipping it in sauce? What kind of sauce are we dipping it in, sir?
Chocolate sauce. I don't know.
Okay. Good save, good save. I don't, I know I've made fun of some culinary prowess in the past, and I try not to make a habit of that. We're seeing a teleport come down here on the bottom side. It is just Erha's, but he is here to protect Jiejie as they take him down to half HP. But again, there's just nothing that JDG is doing is actually progressing the game for them.
Correct. They're going to take this tier 1 turret, which is a little bit of gold in their back pocket. So 130 gold for HongQ. He's able to pick up that small chunk of change. But it really does feel like this is a slow bleed out, and that JDG are almost letting this happen. Gala's going to hit his Muramana 3-item spike in, probably the next dragon, but not anytime soon. And by then the Baron's going to be up. We've now seen our top laners start to trade where they are. Zika leaving this wave almost frozen down in the bot lane is going to make Xiaoxu incredibly susceptible to death, and he's now got to try and make some play happen, so moves up to this top side and tries to be a part of his squad, which then bleeds into, okay, do Weibo need to push that wave in the bot side? Or can they just keep it frozen and stand the pressure of a 5 versus 4 on the top side of the map?
And at this point, with this game being so slow-paced, as you mentioned, it just means that any fight that JDG wins has to be bigger and bigger. So we're going to look for a fight attempt here. Jiejie going to take a big chunk, but again, you're just not getting anything.
Let's look at bot lane, right? What's actually happening on the map? Well, it's more free time for Zika. 255 CS, 22 minutes in. He's able to take that structure without particularly any recourse. No summoner spells burned on either side, and it's just a quick pickup for Zika, who now finds himself with just the smallest advantage, as a couple of minions did end up falling. Xiaoxu's XP going to be slightly further behind the Jax than anything else, and JDG slowly but surely bleeding their way out of this game, and again, the scaling not particularly present for them. We don't favour their composition as this one goes later.
You just gotta try and take all the fights that you can, and you have to win them big, but again, they just seem unwilling to do so. They seem afraid of Weibo, to be honest with you. Mikhail's gonna get used on the heroic charge into the wall. 2,500 gold lead right now for Weibo Gaming. 23.5 minutes into this game. Next Dragon up in 2 minutes. See, Zika still out on the map right now. Still working on that third item when he's going to recall. We'll see what he's going to go opt into next. We know that Dusk and Dawn has been a pretty interesting item for Jack so far.
Yeah, I mean, with the Trinity Force already there, we'd struggle to see the amount of turret damage that Zika can do quite that quickly. And we'll keep our eyes out for maybe a Zhonya's, coming through on 3. The more typical pick-up for Jax, as he just, if he ever looks to go into the back line, then can just go golden for 2.5 seconds and threaten once again. I mean, this game, Yanni, is as slow as it is, and honestly as dull as it has been very well played by Weibo Gaming. They know what the state of this game is. They know what they've got to do. This is just really sad to watch for JDG. They took down BLG yesterday. They were 2-0 up in that series, you know, taking down the best team that the LPL has had through this first split. And now they're coming up against Weibo, who, for all intents and purposes, have been pretty lost through the most part of this split. And it just feels like we've swapped teams. JDG have got no control. They've got no real thoughts about what they're going to do this game, and they're just losing.
Head empty, only do cardio. That's what it feels like a lot of the JDG members are doing. They're just running around the map. I mean, Jiejie just gets to walk up with reckless abandon. Now we're going to try to make a play on this bot side here, but HongQ has to flash over the wall. An ill-fated ultimate means that Zika will eat him alive, and he gets a double kill for himself.
Yeah, finally we get a couple of kills now. JunJia looking for Xiaohu. He has to Nimbus strike out to safety as the TP comes through to defend. And he's going to make sure that that tier 2 turret doesn't fall on the bot side, but I fear, Yanni, there is a much greater prize that Weibo have their eyes on.
Weibo have taken aggressive Baron looks when up 1 member. They're up 2 now. This is going to be very, very difficult for JunJia to try and do anything here. He is going to be able to hop over the wall. Vampire's just going to kind of run distraction here as Zoss goes down onto Erha. Vampire down to half HP as the Baron continues to be done. But look at Zika. He's looking to shove out JunJia here. There's the Cyclone for the knock-up. Chains lands as well, but he went golden, and Gala mistimes his arrow. It's Weibo Gaming picking up this Baron.
Yeah, you can't get into Baron versus Poppy, versus Alistair, versus a Jax who's been left to free farm this entire game. He's just able to walk out on this entire map, finds himself with a completed Zhonya's, now pretty much a full item up over the Xiaoxu, where this matchup had been relatively even. But Erha able to stop HongQ's engage, able to stop that wall from him being able to ride it and take it to safety. I think it's the trample, the E from the Alistair that interrupts it, pushes him onto the unsafe side of the wall. And then they're able to easily collapse, take down the Talia, take down the Zehen after the fact as well. And you know, maybe a minute and maybe 2 minutes ago here, Yanni, the top lane item disparity was not too measurable. However, now we are literally a full item in terms of those differences. A Zhonya versus a longsword is definitely a lead that Zika's going to be happy with. And with the Baron at their backs, you'd like to see Weibo honestly just close this game and maybe take another Baron to do it. Is the more likely outpost here, but should be able to at the very least break open the base, get a load of gold, and put this game to bed.
Yeah, it's been something that we've noticed throughout the new season so far. Is it's taking 2 Barons to end the game. The first one usually gets your foot in the door, and the second one typically closes out the game. Shouldn't have too much trouble closing this out with your late game carries up 2,500 gold each, essentially. We'll see if JDG are able to mount any sort of defense here. We're going to go all in on the Elk here. We got his Ignite out, or we got the Ignite out from Vampire. We used his ultimate, but Elk is alive.
He did flash, which I think is a win. He still doesn't have Infinity Edge, which is a win for the time being for JDG, but the second that gets picked up, I mean, this Sivir is just going to be an absolute fiend. Xiaohu should be able to ulti this out.
Stuck in a 2v1, and he's not able to escape in time. Well played there by JDG, and a re-engage coming through. But there's not enough Weibo members here. Erha popping that ultimate, runs away, but look at what's happening on the bottom side. Weibo stretching the map well.
I'd like to think that they should still look, right? Let's go 4v3, and
no!
Vampire gets caught on the flip side of the map. Now Jiejie and L going to be this two-man band, bash throwing their way through the topside jungle. Looking for this top tier 2 turret. They've already taken the bot lane inhibitor. Zika, wherever he goes, he's just an absolute menace. He's 2-0-0, not particularly the greatest scoreline, but his threat in this game is just massive. Look at the damage, no Infinity Edge.
Yeah. It's so crazy, man. I mean, Sivir is just a champion that just gets to do that. It's so difficult because if you can't play next to the wave, you can't really defend anything. I mean, Elk and Jiejie are just marching in right now. We're getting a teleport in here from Xiaohu to continue this Baron up push here. Baron about to wear off, but I don't think it's going to matter all that much. There's not a damn thing that JDG can do about it. Weibo Gaming walk in. They're going to take another turn in the base. Question is, will they look for the inhibitor?
I think they can. I mean, Zika needs to be able to put a little bit of pressure onto Xiaoxu down in that mid lane to make sure that there isn't a slight mismatch in the members. Instead, they look to go back. They'll spend their gold here, and I think that this is going to be some big item completions across the board here. Infinity Edge picked up, Crypt Bloom picked up. Maybe get to the Jiejie finish off that cowl into something else. They do know that he's on this ward.
All right, are they going to be able to take him down? Not quite. They force his flash out. It's another Chains of Corruption not landing. I mean, you're getting the summoners, but
yeah,
you're not doing much else with it.
That one's not on Gala. That was a flash burned by Jiejie to get out to safety, but that was really their one window to try and make something happen, and unfortunately they just weren't able to do it. Kernick now picked up for Jiejie, not really putting any stock on Gala as a threat, which, I mean, this game I'm not against, because it's a lethality virus and you've got a lot of HP. Likelihood is he's not going to be too dangerous. No flash out.
Yeah, we're attacking him again, and this time,
Poppy.
The Keeper's Verdict denies it. Elk will eventually fall, but not before Weibo Gaming get a lick back, and yeah, Zika is just on this backside, causing a bunch of problems. He's got a double kill for himself, and he's looking to walk down JunJia here. He'll find him as well as Xiaohu's around. The turret not really going to be able to help the cause out too much. JunJia stuck on an island right now. Yeah,
he's able to barely limp his way out to safety. Deadman's Plate not quite going to be enough.
And they're just picking the Nexus turrets.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bot wave for them, and with the Jax in their back pocket, Weibo are probably just going to take this game, take this series, and Xiaoxu going to have to try and defend it.
Is he going to use his Grim Deliverance? We haven't seen it yet. I think it's just too late at this point. Nexus exposed, and now they're going to be the ones to turn around. Zika going golden, knock up onto Xiaohu. Some Xiaoxu on Xiaohu violence, but no kills in it. And Weibo Gaming slowly bleed out JDG, as you called out, a 2-0 series victory, improving to 2-3.
And what a series, honestly, from Weibo, right? I don't think this was in any way expected, but they've managed to claw out one of the most methodical 2-0s that we've ever seen. They knew they had scaling. They used Jax incredibly well through this mid game and put themselves just so far ahead. I mean, JDG were completely asleep at the wheel. I don't know what happened to them this series. They just did not seem to show up, and Weibo took every advantage.
Were they even at the wheel, Roodood? Like, that is a valid question to ask. They might not have even been in the car, man. Like, this team really just did not show up today. And, you know, there's always the thought that maybe they prepared mostly for BLG. Weibo Gaming had plenty of time to prepare for JDG, had tape on them from the previous night. You're coming off a huge win. Weibo Gaming needs this victory. This is a trap game through and through, and JDG fell for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty sad series to have watched. After having seen JDG do so well versus BLG just last night, it's really sad to see them regress in a very, very, very devastating way. If you put this JDG up against BLG, what on earth are they like? BLG are just going to steamroll them. It's 2 20-minute games and the games are done, but they somehow managed to take that win. Weibo Gaming, I don't think played amazingly in this series, but they did what they needed to. And honestly, when you're playing up against a team that gives so little, that's all that we can ask from you.
Yeah, they played well enough. They played within themselves. They understood their composition quite well in that second game. And while they weren't pressured to do anything, sometimes inaction is the best action that you can take.